Hi everybody, Kerrie here at the Northeast Autism Society, and I'm joined by Toni
Hello.
and David
Hello.
from the Life Science Centre, and today we are going to be learning how to dissect a flower, because we know that lots of our young people have been doing their own gardening at home and they've been planting lots of different flowers, so we thought we'd like to learn a little bit more about it.
Great. So, yeah, we're going to do a little bit of botany, a little bit of plant science. But before we get started, I'm just going to ask you, why do you think plants have flowers? Anyone got any ideas?
To make the garden pretty.
To make the garden pretty?
Is it something to do with pollen for the bees, perhaps?
Oh, yeah, you see lots of bees visiting the flowers and they're interested in the pollen and the nectar in there. So it's interesting because David said he thought that the flowers look pretty to us and they smell nice to us as well. And that's the same for lots of insects like bees that Kerrie mentioned. And the plants are really interested in attracting insects towards them, especially bees, because they can pollinate them. They take the pollen from one plant to another, and that means that you end up with seeds forming in that plant, and from the seeds new plants grow. So it's basically helping the plants make more plants, have plant babies. So that's why we have them. So what I thought we could do is take apart the flower and look at all the different pieces that play a role in play a role with the interacting with the insects and making the seeds. So has everyone got a flower?
I have. Toni, just before we dissect them, I'm quite surprised. My flower actually smells quite citrus.
Ooh.
And I didn't expect that. It smells quite fruity.
Oh, fruity
I didn't expect
smell.
that.
Nice. How does yours
Just
smell,
like
Kerrie?
Quite just like a floral smell. A bit like a floral perfume that you might wear.
Oh, like a nice perfume. Yeah, so lots of flowers are used as ingredients in perfume. So okay, how's mine smell? Mine reminds me of the kind of typical kind of perfumey smell as well. So the first part of the flower I want to look for is the stem. So the stem is the part I'm holding it by here, the long green part. Can everyone find the stem?
That bit there?
Great. And if you feel the bottom of your stem, the bit you've just broken off, it might feel a bit wet and a bit sticky.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's because that stem essentially is a tube, well, a few tubes inside it. One of them is the xylem, which carries water around the plant. And the other one is the phloem, which carries a kind of sugary liquid, which is food for the plant, around the plant as well. So inside the stem, you might find that. So what I'm doing as well is, as I'm pulling the pieces off, I'm putting them on a piece of paper that I've labeled so that I can keep all the pieces and know which ones are which. So I've now put my stem onto my stem piece of paper.
Stem.
Oh, you're doing the same? That's great.
Yeah, I'm going to do this as well so I can remember.
That's it. That way we won't lose the pieces as we go. And then next we're going to have a look for the sepals. Now, sepals are quite often found at the base of the flower, and when the flower's still in a bud, they kind of wrap around it and protect it. But they're still there once the flower's opened up. They're often still there. Not always, but quite often. So mine are very pale, but you can just see the little pale green bits.
So my flower looks a bit like a thistle does. And so the bit that's here, is that the bit you're talking about here?
I think it looks like it could be, yeah. So all of these flowers, oh, you've got some lovely green ones there too, Kerrie. So it can vary quite a lot from plant to plant, so it's worth investigating. So again, if you want to take off your sepals, you can put them with your label just there. Ooh.
Sepals. Okay, got that one. Got my stem and my sepals.
Next, I'm going to go for possibly my favourite part of the flower, the petals. Can you tell me which part the petals are? Yeah. And what I thought would be really nice about the petals, if we pull those off, we can see how similar or how different they are to one another.
I've got some quite big petals on the outside, and then they go much smaller on the inside. So I've got different size petals.
How about you, David?
So mine's has got a white bit at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just turn it around, the very bottom of it, and then it extends, and it's kind of almost a bit like a feather in the way it moves out.
So they've got a very different shape, haven't they, to what we might have been expecting. So mine interestingly has some little yellow dots just there. And the other thing that really surprised me is mine is just one petal. It's all joined together. It didn't come apart. It's separate pieces. Really surprising.
See, mine is all lots of separate pieces.
Yeah, and mine's just lots of separate pieces too. So if I take my hand away, they would all fall down.
Great. Okay, so there's another difference we've got between them. So we can put that there. So I'm going to put my petals on my petal as well. Are really important. We've got lots of nice colours, and I had extra colours and patterns on there too, and they're really great for signalling to the insects. So the flowers are trying to attract them by putting on this display of beautiful colours. So we've got lots of differences there, and they basically say, like, come and land here to the insects. Now,
so Toni, I've kind of got two different colours here. So I've got the petals on the outside, which are the kind of blue feathery ones, but I've just noticed that there's kind of purple ones in the inside, which also look like petals, but they're smaller.
I'm wondering if they might be a different part of the flower, because they are, as you said, much smaller. And my flower, what's left of it, is kind of fallen apart a bit now, but I've got lots of these too.
Right.
Like this. And they've got a little blob just on the end, and these are the stamen. So not every flower has these, but lots of them do. And at the top of the stamen, you might find the anther, which is the little blob just at the top. And sometimes on then, if you brush your finger across it, you get some pollen come off, little tiny grains.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you've got some pollen there, great. And it's the pollen that I mentioned that gets stuck to the insects as they come in and transferred from flower to flower so that can form new seeds.
No, right.
I have to be really careful when I'm touching pollen because I have hay fever. And hay fever is essentially being allergic to pollen. So if this gets up my nose or in my eyes, I will have very itchy eyes and a very runny nose. So I need to remember to wash my hands afterwards.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, so we've got our stamen there. Did yours have stamen too, Kerrie?
Yeah, in the middle here. Is that what we were looking at? Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it was in the middle before.
Little pieces.
Yeah.
Much smaller than the petals.
Much smaller. That's interesting. So sometimes, like, I've got a little rose here. Sometimes the stamen are really long, and sometimes they're really short, like they are in the yellow things.
Yeah, that's like mine. Quite similar.
Great. And then you might have a look among the stamen and find one that looks different to all the others. Sometimes it's taller, sometimes it's a different colour. Have a look. I found one just here, which has a kind of pink end to it, where all the others had a purple end. And this is the pistil. And again, not every flower has these. Some they can have stamen or a pistil, or some of them have both. So mine have both.
Mine are all very similar.
Oh, so maybe that one just had stamen. Have you got a different one, David?
Well, actually, I think I might have it. This one. I'm going to put the rest down. It's going to might disintegrate, but we'll see. This bit here is actually thicker in the middle. It's kind of a bulb. In comparison to the other stamen that I pulled off, which is just long and narrow.
Yeah, sometimes they have a kind of big blob at the bottom that kind of attaches it in. That's a good chance that is the pistil if it's got that part at the bottom. I think my piece at the bottom's broken off and is still attached inside my sepals instead. This would have been
That's pistil.
on the top here like this. So that pistil is where the pollen lands and travels down the tube, and then at the base is where the seed will form. So I'm going to put the pistil on another piece of paper just here. Great. So hopefully that's all the pieces of our flower that we find there. But sometimes you do find other bits that are a bit different. So if you do, maybe you could have a look in some books or perhaps on the internet to see if there's any other pieces that you can try and identify.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if some of our young people do this, it would be brilliant to see some photographs or some videos as well. And maybe put in the name of your flower, because all flowers they've got some really beautiful names, haven't they? And they're all very different. I don't know what my flower was called. It was just a yellow one from the garden. But it would be interesting to see what flowers you have.
Yeah, I found some rhododendron that I found when I was walking yesterday. So that's where mine came from.
And I think the suggestion is that mine might be cornflower, but I'd be interested if anybody knows different, because it might not be. So if anybody else could tell me it was different, I'd be happy to believe that.
Brilliant.
Nice.
So please send us your pictures, videos and questions and comments, and we'll get back to you all. So I think all we've got to do now is wash our hands and tidy up. So we'll see you all soon. Bye everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.